Good morning. My name is Dr. Lori Baudino, and I'm doing a collaborative check-in with a dear friend and colleague, Julie Wright, from The Happy Sleeper and the Wright Mommy and Me. And the Wright Mommy and Me and Happy Sleeper are such a treasure to parents. I've come across so many kids and families in my work that say, even friends of mine that say, "Oh, I'm working with the Happy Sleeper and the books and using the resources." And so I'm so excited to have you here. And I would love for you to share more. Where are you and what is happening with these programs right now? What are you doing?
Yeah, so thank you. I'm sure everyone knows that as much as we're all struggling right now, one of the silver linings to the kind of work that my co-author and I do and my class leaders in the parenting program do is that now we can offer our classes and our consults online to everyone all over the world. So that's a silver lining, and we're finding that whether it's sleep related, so we have the Happy Sleeper and sleep consults and online classes and all kinds of ways that parents can get help with sleep, virtually. And there are all these things that are happening right now with the pandemic going on that are sleep related that we can definitely talk about. And then there's the classes, there's the support and the community that parents need so much, even not in non-pandemic world. Parents are very, this, they're very isolated, and we're not meant to live in our own little boxes with our children and our babies all day long. So the classes have always been an essential way for parents to learn, to build their community and to get support. And it's interesting because we feel like the essence of that program we can still deliver. The difference, I think, for some parents is that some parents are really looking for something more like a way to socialize their babies, or a way to maybe provide some activities for their babies, but that's not really what we're about. We love to see the babies and we love to see them kind of, roll around and play and start to get to know each other. But the main essence of our group is education, support, and community building. So it's a little bit of an interesting shift in how we've always described it that way, but like maybe even a little more strongly saying like, these are still really elements that we can provide,
I think, or I know it's so, I think, and I know that it's so important to understand about the communication, that the socializing, meaning like the community and the education piece of that, building the foundation to support the child, the baby, as they're developing, to then be able to socialize and connect. So while we might think, oh, I need to see my child like smiling at another child or reaching out, when you're giving the parent those tools to be able to read and co-regulate and engage with the baby, and look at timing and rhythm, and then the beauty of being in your own home and exploring that space, you're really setting your child up as they get older. So I see that of such a value that you can do. And then, we have to look at little gifts right now, thinking about, you don't have to pack up the diaper bag and all the stuff and the transportation and the managing of their schedule. It's like right there, like click of a button, I can connect and feel like I'm not alone with my baby.
Yeah,
it's such a beautiful gift.
That's a silver lining too. You don't have to look for a parking space. You don't have to
right.
The weather, although there's not usually much bad weather in LA. But like I said, people can attend now from all over. So yeah, there are pros and cons for sure. And attending a class online is different. A lot of people will say, well, I don't let my baby watch TV. And, I don't know how much you've explored this in your work, but the American Academy of Pediatrics makes a distinction between watching, passively watching a show versus being engaged in a live chat with like a relative, or in this case, it might be your mommy and me class leader. But so we try to help them understand that it's different, but we also don't expect the babies to be like on the screen. Right. They can be down on the floor, and they can even be napping or with the partner. They don't have to be like present for us to deliver all those important things that you were just talking about. It's sort of like, as I evolved in my therapy practice, I'm a I'm a marriage and family therapist as well. And I did a lot of work with children early on. And what I realized over time, as much as I love to do play therapy with children, I'm much more effective if I work with the parents, because they're the ones who are with the child 24/7. And I think the same is true in parenting classes with young babies. Is, you know, we're really experts at helping parents to interact with them in a way that builds their social skills and
Yeah, it is.
optimizes their development.
Yes, it's such a value, because then the child and the mom, the parents, any provider is able to generalize it into all their environments and in many relationships. So you're really building that connection and that understanding of what goes on in that relationship. I love the distinction of online learning and watching the screen. One of my biggest principles before a pandemic about technology is, if you can see it, you have to make sure you can do it. So, you know, when I heard a child watching someone do Play-Doh on a screen, I would say, well, if they're going to watch it, it doesn't have to be the devil, like everything in moderation, hopefully. But if they're going to watch it, I want to know, do you also have Play-Doh in that house, or some type of substance you can use to make them start to create and bring it into the real world? And can you make a connection? Can you link it to their life? So when you're talking about these online programs, it is an opportunity to have the child be stimulated in hearing the connection, hearing laughter, having those aha moments for the parent to understand, and then, you know, again, being able to go in and out of that relationship. I see that happening.
Yeah.
Can you just share about the happy sleeper? I think sleeping, you and I have talked about this. I love the theme of sleep, and it's one of my favorite topics to dive into, because I value it so much. I know sleep is so important, and I'm asking you the question, but I'll just say this, that so often when a child comes in with behaviors or challenges, my first go-to is, what's going on in that sleep? Because the nervous system has this physiological response and saying, I'm stressed, I haven't gotten enough sleep. And we know as adults what that feels like. And that creates a lot of challenges during the day. So now we've got these little babies, or any age. What do you look at, or what's some of your ideas about sleep?
Yeah, so I'm the co-author of the book, The Happy Sleeper, which has been out amazingly. It's been 6 years. That's right around the time it was being formulated, is when you and I met. But it actually grew out of our Mommy and Me program, our parenting program, because of what we saw as a real need that parents had to satisfy both maintaining healthy attachment while also giving their child space to grow into developmentally normal, healthy sleep. So the book came out 6 years ago, and my co-author, Heather Turgeon, and we now, she's like the most amazing partner. We do sleep consultations. We offer online classes on our website that you can stream. And just, building on what you're talking about, we feel like sleep, we say sleep is foundational. Sleep is like air and water and food. It's foundational. It's not just a luxury or a thing you might just need a little more of, or it might make you feel a little bit better. Like, sleep is foundational to our ability to function optimally, to feel, to have the best mood possible, to be as healthy, to have the strongest immune system, which we know is
so important
right now. And it also changes our attitude. People who sleep well have a more positive attitude, and that's another thing we really need right now. And there's I could go on and on about how important sleep is, but you're right. When we see a mom, for instance, who has some postpartum mood and or anxiety issues, that's one that comes to mind. It could be almost anything. The first thing we do is help her with sleep, because that often improves a lot of her presenting symptoms and gives her the wherewithal to do the things that she needs to do to start to feel better. So true with children too. When you see a lot of difficult behaviors, you always want to know, how is this child sleeping,
Yes.
So sleep is foundational. And at a time like this, we're finding two things that are sort of antithetical to each other. One is that people are very understandably feeling time is just shapeless and amorphous, and you just don't know what time it is, and you're times are sort of fading later and later in a lot of households. And so we're seeing a lot of sleep issues arising over parents sort of kind of losing a hold of the structure. We're also seeing, I just talked to a family this morning, 2 parents at home with a 3-year-old and a 6-month-old, both working from home with no help. I mean, all those naps and all those schedules and all that stuff I want them to do, it's really, really hard. But the benefit, and what we're seeing a lot of now, is that they are home and that they can be the ones to put their baby down for a nap and follow the routine and follow the plan, you know, and not have a lot of different people doing it, or have a lot of likelihood that the plan's not followed, because it's the consistency of a sleep plan that really makes it work. So a lot of people are taking advantage of this time to say, you know, this is and they really need their child to be sleeping well so they can get their work done. It's just, right. It's about survival in a lot of ways.
Is there something that I know there's many things, but something that comes to mind when you think about the baby is having trouble falling to sleep, or the child's challenges is falling to sleep? You know, once they're sleeping, that's okay. So that's one thing that comes up often. And then the other part, so you could answer either one, the other part is now they're sleeping and then they wake up, and then getting them back. And I'm imagining there's a lot of variables depending on the family and the dynamics. Is there some go-to things that you all think about?
Yeah, I mean, it makes perfect sense that you ask those 2 questions together, because they're very directly related. Mm-hmm. So from an age when we know that most babies are capable of falling asleep independently across the board, which is conservatively 5 months. So from 5 months on, the way that a baby falls asleep at bedtime will set the tone for the rest of the night. And when we start our technique, where we very clearly hand over the role of falling asleep to that baby, we start at bedtime and going forward, whether it's a middle of the night wakening, whether it's after a feed that's maybe being weaned, whether it's for a nap, that we keep that clean, we keep it that their go-to. And what happens is, especially at night, very quickly their go-to way becomes to fall asleep independently, and their nights improve. So it's kind of like, I think a lot of parents, and it makes perfect sense, I think they just think, if I could just get this baby to sleep, then I'll cross my fingers and hope that she sleeps through the night. But the truth is, if you're there, if you're present, helping your baby fall asleep, if you're feeding to sleep or rocking or holding, then when your baby wakes up at some point during the night, you know, we go through sleep cycles all night long. Yes. Your baby now has an association. This is how I fall asleep, being nursed or fed or rocked or held. I'm going to reach externally for that help. That's all I know. That's my association. So I always say it's like if I fell asleep in my bed with my pillow just so, and I woke up in the middle of the night and I was like lying on my kitchen floor, and the only way I could get back to my bed was with your help. I mean, that's sort of what it's like when we help them all the way to sleep at an age when we know they're capable. So once they fall asleep on their own, then when they wake up during the night, everything's the same as it was when they started. And this is really key. This is how sleep plans really work, because it's the consistency. And after a while, the baby, I mean, the cool thing, you know, from neurobiology is that when we practice something, the pathways in our brain get stronger. Yes. So the baby has always been helped to sleep. She hasn't even traveled those pathways. I always go like this, because our sleep centers are in the stem of our brain. So they're very primitive. They're very hardwired. They're strong. They're not fancy. You don't teach a baby to sleep or train a baby to sleep. You just get out of the way so that this very strong function can do its thing. So I always picture like little elves back here saying, come on over, we got this, you know, and so you get out of the way, the elves start to win, you know. Yes. And so it's a very natural process. Our starting point in the book is babies are built to sleep. So we try to help parents feel differently about it, rather than I'm going to train my baby to sleep. Like, you can't train your baby to sleep any more than you could train a person to sleep, or train them to swallow or breathe or crawl. It's built in. Yes,
yes. I love that so much of these talks, the idea of it is to bring connection, bring understanding that there's all these resources out there to families. And there's this through line that keeps happening of that the children have this ability. We're not trying to give it to them. They, it's really stepping back and saying that they are capable. We're just kind of setting up, maybe being aware of the environment, setting up the mindset that we believe that this is something they can do, and then they can. And so there's this through line throughout all these professionals that are similar, in that this really great mindset of that they are able to and they want to. And it can feel so often, I hear from parents that it can feel like, well, they can't, or they don't want to, or they're being difficult, or it's, like all the labels come out. And so I love the idea that there's this connection between falling asleep and even re-waking, and that pattern that can be developed. And just, again, really setting them up that we believe and we know that this is something innate. This is part of their development that they know how to do.
Yeah, it's such a true thing. I mean, I think parents try to think why, because I know I remember feeling this way when my son was young. I mean, when you're a parent with a young baby or a young child, I think it's fear of getting it wrong and not raising a good kid that we are so controlling in a way that we just feel like it's our job to make everything work out. It's a really normal thing to feel, but the truth is in our second book, is all about empathic approach to difficult moments. So empathic limit setting, and the starting point for that book is that children are built for good. That we want to sort of water the little plant of their sleep ability or their natural empathy, and not feel like we're muscling it from the outside.
Right. I look at timing as a quality of movement, and timing is to me, it's like that's the crux of all challenges. When as a parent, you want something done immediately, and maybe the child's taking a little longer, or the child's going too fast and you're going slow. It is this real rhythmic dance that goes on that can create those fears in us, that kind of that response where we don't mean to, we have all good intentions, but all of a sudden we're trying to like get something done that if we just maybe took a little bit of time, it actually would save us time. It actually would potentially be, easeful in the long run.
Yeah. One of the biggest tools is just to pause in a difficult moment. And as long as there's no danger, imminent danger, of course you have to move quickly. But a lot of times if we can just pause and take stock of what we're feeling, take in our child so that we can be attuned and empathic to them. And I also tell parents, tell your child, Mommy's trying to figure this out. I'm trying to figure out what you need or what I'm feeling a little frustrated or confused. Make your process transparent, because the overall goal is to process feelings and be able to verbalize them rather than act them out. So we are, as parents, acting them out when we feel like we have to fix something. And it's always done with the best of intentions. It's done with, I want to make you happy, or I want to help you fix this problem, or I want this to be over. Or,
I need to get back to cleaning and organizing the house for you. It's all,
there's so much to it. It's not easy. We're not meant to, like I said earlier, we're just not meant to be alone all day long with our children.
Right. Well, I also I think you're giving credit and permission to also be authentic, that when a parent gets to talk through it to their baby, there's such a space of compassion and empathy of saying, this is what I'm experiencing, and the child gets to hear that and know that we're learning as we go. And I think it's a big message, especially during this pandemic, that there's a lot of unknown, but that is known, right? So it's a funny way of saying it, but we can say, I don't know all the things that are going on, and I'm talking to you about it. And this is the things I do know, and this is what keeps changing. And thinking about, I'm circling back to these mommy groups and this, sleep support. Those are some things that can be the through line, that connection that is consistent. So I really hope that families see that they have these resources out there, that come to your groups, come to do these sleep consults and read the books, because then there is some consistency and some information that you can actually hold on to during times that can feel ever evolving and changing.
Yeah, this is really a difficult time. And yeah, we're telling parents to don't be afraid to tell your child. I mean, you don't want to tell them that you're terrified, but you can certainly tell your child that this is different and it feels weird and it's not what we're used to. And, you know, don't try to act like everything's okay, because children feel, they feel what's going on. And it's really much better for them, for you to put words to those feelings than for them to internalize those feelings without any understanding. So making meaning of the emotion in the room is key. It's part of a longer discussion, but it's so important to talk about it, you know, not be afraid to talk about it.
Right. I also find value in making sure that the parents are getting the sleep and modeling for the family what is, you know, healthy, what's beneficial. So, you know, I think even when you're talking about the happy sleeper, I'm thinking about this whole community of happy sleepers, this whole family, especially that we're all under one roof, thinking about those schedules and modeling that for our children.
Yeah, it's so true. A lot of parents, even once their baby or child is sleeping better, they still maybe aren't going to bed early enough to get a full night's sleep. And we all know how important it is now to get 7 to 8 hours as adults. And a lot of the same things we work with them on around their babies, like a regular bedtime. It sounds so like boring, so like old fashioned, but it's really about harnessing the power of the internal clock. It's a very cool thing. It's super strong. So we can't train anybody to fall asleep, but we can train their internal clock. So that's why not do that? Why not harness that power? So what it means is if you go to bed at, if I go to bed at 10:30 every night, it's much easier for me to fall asleep because my internal clock gets trained for that time. My melatonin starts to rise. My body regulates down and prepares for sleep. And then when I hit that 10:30, it's easy. It's like a sweet spot.
Yes.
So that's the very easiest way to work on your sleep. There's a lot of other things that we can do to help adults sleep better, but regular bedtime is a real simple place. And again, everybody's kind of like losing a sense of what time it is, and you know, staying later. And
that's a great start, and something that we can all look at and think about. What is that sweet spot? What is that time, and how to be consistent? And again, that modeling for our children is so important.
Yeah.
So where can families find out more about you and your work?
Yeah, so if you're looking for a parenting class, you go to wrightmommy.com. So my last name is Wright, W-R-I-G-H-T. So it's wrightmommy.com. And you'll see all the information about the classes. And if you're looking for help with sleep, it's the title of the book, thehappysleeper.com. And all our social is the same, at The Happy Sleeper. So we're easy to find, and we'd love to hear from you and do whatever we can to help you through this really challenging time.